Welcome to What You Talking About. Today I'm joined by Cassidy Lance-McWherter. She's a 5 times CrossFit Games athlete who has won the Open and 2 times Regionals champion also. She's a mum of 2, soon to be 3, and in her career has opened 3 CrossFit gyms and is now a pre- and postnatal coach with a passion for helping women and giving them the tools and support through their pregnancies and post-baby. I absolutely love this chat and hope you enjoy too. Don't forget to like, follow, rate and subscribe to support us and be the first to hear all about our new content and episodes. Thank you for listening. Enjoy. Cassidy, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really appreciate you chatting. How are things with you currently? How are you?
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be on here, and it's a pleasure to be on here with you. So I appreciate it. We're doing well over here. I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant, so just growing another baby and then busy with my 2 sons. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, you are keeping busy, and I know we'll talk a lot about it, but obviously pregnancy and having kids kind of is your business as well now, as well as your life. So does it just kind of take over everything?
It is, yeah, it takes over. So I try to structure my work schedule, around the kids' schedule. So that's hard. And trying to fit everything in. Like Tuesdays and Thursdays are definitely my busy days because they're at school and daycare those days. But then every other day is, playing with kids and then just trying to check in with clients in the evening and work at home. So it is busy. So yes, it's all about kids.
It is, but it's so great. And I love that it's now your business as well because you know about it, and I want to kind of talk about that a lot. But to go back, obviously you are a very well-known CrossFit athlete and you have been so successful in that. I want to kind of dip into how you discovered CrossFit and how you kind of had the successful career you had. But growing up, is it you were a gymnast, is that right? And that's how you kind of got into all your fitness and everything?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. CrossFit was a very good passion, and I still have a high passion for it. It's so fun watching the semifinals the last couple weekends. But I got into it after my gymnastics career. Yes, I tore my ACL multiple times and had a career-ending injury with that. So I needed something. So one of my old teammates said, "You can get in shape in 5 minutes," and I honestly didn't believe her. And I did my first workout, and I told this story a couple of times, but I cheated on my first workout because it was so hard. And, it's embarrassing, but I couldn't keep up with the girls. And so I think that was so motivating that you can find something else that's, gymnastics was 6 hours a day for so long, of a long period of my life, that being conditioned in 5 minutes, doing a 5-minute workout or a WOD didn't seem realistic. And really it was. Obviously you need more than 5 minutes, but some work, you do the lifting and warm up and accessory and all that stuff. But so it just kind of grew as that passion. That's what I love to do. And I love to work out. And just like anyone else, I'd love to compete and, push the boundaries of where you are, and never found that limit. So kept digging. And I think most of the people find the same thing with CrossFit. So that's where I am at today. So competed as long as I could. Obviously I wanted to go longer, but having kids is, another journey, another story. And it's really hard to grow a family and compete and have a family at the same time. So working and, doing what I do with the pregnancy and nutrition coaching gives me that whole passion as well. And still being able to, CrossFit with my son every morning he comes out. He was just doing wall sits with me, and he was timing me on my phone, and it teaches him how to count and, exercise and fitness. So he knows that this is the routine in the morning. When the other kid goes to sleep, he comes out and we do a workout together. And so it's fun family bonding. And we get to play outside in the toys. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Sorry, I just kind of rambled on.
No, I love it. I'm all about rambling. I swear you get all the good information. So when you started CrossFit, obviously I assume a lot of the skills with the conditioning and the discipline and obviously the gymnastics movements came relatively easy to you. But how like, how easy did you find that transition into kind of doing CrossFit as a sport and then eventually going into competing?
Yeah, I think the competing part was the easier part, right? You show up and like the lights turn on and the audience is cheering, and then you just get that adrenaline going. I don't know if the skills transfer over because women's gymnastics is so different than men's gymnastics. And you see a lot more men's gymnastics in CrossFit, such as the rings, and so it's just very different. It's not, now they're coming to be more technical. I mean, handstand push-ups, yes, but different in a sense. Handstand walking, yes, that all is incorporated into women's gymnastics, but the toes to bar, the ring muscle ups, the bar muscle ups, those aren't necessarily women's skills. So, but what helps from gymnastics is the body awareness and the ability to know your body and the corrections. You were corrected so much as a child growing up. I started at 3 years old until I was 21 years old of doing gymnastics, and someone coaching me on where my body awareness is. And so taking that into CrossFit was like, okay, this feels wrong. What does the coach say? And you're able to change that very quickly. So I think that's where a lot of gymnasts have like the upper hand with the body awareness.
Yeah, I suppose I was just saying, like, the competing, you competed a lot in gymnastics. So actually, I suppose when you started competing in CrossFit, was it daunting or was it quite like second nature to you?
I think it was second nature. Like I said, the lights go on and the adrenaline comes out, and it's you turn on. Like, I was always a much better competitor than I was training wise. Sorry, what was the question?
No, I was just saying, like, did it feel quite natural to be competing again, even though it was
it was definitely natural to compete again. I think figuring out, like, the hard part was like the nutrition and figuring out the food and the adrenaline, because in gymnastics you do 4 events and those are 1.5 minutes each, and you just kind of rotate through. So, right, it's over 3 hours, but then it's done. Where CrossFit is like all out 100% intensity, then you have to recover, and then you have to do it again. You have to do that multiple times, and you do it over multiple days. So I think that part is the harder part to figure out than when we compare it to gymnastics.
Yeah. And did you always sorry, go on.
Just a 1-day competition versus like the games is a multi-day competition.
Yeah, it is so much. And I think I forget, even like I'm watching these people and I'm like, oh yeah, so day 3, and I'm like, actually that is so much intensity. But when you started CrossFit to just kind of get your fitness in and to do this, did you intend to go on and do it professionally straight away, or was it quite a slow process?
Absolutely not. I was at my first gym, CrossFit Northwest in Seattle, and they were like, you should compete. And I was like, no, like, it was just kind of like a side thing. I was just a hobby to me. We ended up going to the games in 2010 as a team. And I honestly, like, I was still kind of like in the mental state of, I was injured. Like, this is not gymnastics. This is not, I'm not taking it seriously. And then after the fact, it was kind of like a wake up call. Like, this is really cool. Like, I can take this seriously. And I started to put more and more effort into it as the years went on. I wish I put more effort into it when I first started, because I think there would have been a lot more, not necessarily gratitude, but maybe a little bit more reward earlier than the later years. And, I got older, 2017, 2018, the recovery was harder, but also lessons had learned. So a little bit smarter as an adult athlete versus like a young 20-year-old athlete.
And I suppose you kind of started CrossFit in the time where it was becoming a much bigger sport, or started competing even, regionals became much bigger, the games became much bigger. There was a lot of change over them years. Going forward, like, into like your first regionals and everything, did you always have a goal to make it to the games, or again at this point were you still trying to just figure it all out?
Yeah, and the first year, I mean, it was hard because, like you said, it was still upcoming. Like, everything was, you're learning. Like, Chris Clever had just won the year before, then Annie had won, and so, like, you don't think of these girls as legends. And now that, I've known them for so long, like, and competed with them for so long, yeah, they're definitely huge legends to me. But the first couple of years was just like, it wasn't a big deal to me. And I wish I took it more seriously. And now I definitely do take it more serious. And as the years went on, it did become more serious and became into my career in a professional sport. But when we first started, it was just kind of a hobby.
I love that. But I think actually it probably shows, your gratitude more because you've done it as kind of a student and as someone who's very new and just enjoys it. And then obviously going in to this amazing competitive career that you had. Talk about a few moments like you've won regionals, you won the Open. Did you ever expect that level of kind of, being that good at this sport, especially in a time where it grew so much?
Yeah, as the years progressed, especially 2017, and 2018, like I really, really wanted to stand on the podium, and I really believed that I had the chance, especially in 2018. And there was some mistakes at the games that still like haunt me to this day, like just errors on my end, that held me back. And I just feel like if those errors weren't there, right, I wish I could have done that. So I put all my effort in. I knew 2017 and 2018 were going to be close to my end years because we wanted to start a family. And being of what we had to go through IVF, so we knew we couldn't do that while I competed. So we put every ounce of effort into those 2 years to make them the best possible, and they were. So yes, winning the Open was outstanding. I honestly didn't look at the leaderboard that year. I had a great training partner. I had great coaches. I had a great team. I had, a nurse that helped me. I had, chiropractors and massage therapists. I had a full team, and I was just like ready to go, every step of the way. And I just had my eyes forward. And, the song by Imagine Dragons, now I am drawing a blank, but it's about the horse racing, like putting on the blinders and just going forward. I listened to that every single day when season started, driving to the gym, because we had a 45-minute drive to the gym, and it was just like constant in my head, that like blinders on, look forward. So, and then Tia messaged me and she was like, "Hey, you can win the Open. I'm going to tell you what my score is." And she was so sweet. And I didn't even know that I was so close on the leaderboard in 2018 because I was just so focused on what I needed to do, that I wasn't looking at the leaderboard. In the years past, the leaderboard just kind of got in the way, and it frazzles you, and you think like you have to repeat, or you didn't do well enough, or you're doing well enough and then you don't need to repeat, and all that stuff. So if I felt like those workouts were completed as best that I could be, then I put it to the past and moved on and used that just as my training. And I still did multiple workouts in that same day to keep going. It wasn't like the regular gym membership where you just go in, you do the Open, and then you're exhausted for the whole weekend. No, I still worked out the rest of the day and through the weekend. So it was just kind of like part of the training. And so my real hope for 2018, especially, was to get on that podium. I really believed I could get on that podium, and I still believed if I missed those errors, I could have. But again, hey, it's how it turns out. It's the luck of the draw, right?
Right, indeed. Going back to winning the Open, it's one of these things that it happens every year and it's such a big deal, but I almost feel like people don't really talk about it that much, because I suppose now getting to the games is quite a long process, with quarterfinals, semifinals, etc. Did you have an aim to like do well in the Open? Obviously you weren't looking at the leaderboard, or was it just I need to do well enough to get me to the next stage?
At the beginning, it was just well enough to get into the next stage. But then, those years, 2017, 2018, was you needed to do well enough to seed yourself, to put yourself in the last heat. And so the years prior, I just kind of got by doing the Open, not really, repeating workouts if you needed to, and I honestly didn't repeat in 2017, 2018, I didn't repeat any workouts. But, in the years past, if you think about that, seating wise, you needed to put yourself in the best heat. So if you messed up or you think you could get a higher lift, you want to repeat it. so then in 2017 and 18, I really wanted to do well in the open because I wanted to be in that last heat going into regionals. So that was kind of the goal. It wasn't just to like be the top 60 to move on. It was to get to that final heat, because then you're in with the competitive athletes at the end. Now this year was crazy because there was 5 heats of competitive athletes in semifinals. Watching it, like, it wasn't all in the end. The leaderboard was all over the place, which was so cool with like programming and how it worked. The years past, that's not how it was.
It has really changed, but I think it's really cool to watch how it's changed over the years. And I suppose in a tactic wise for you, obviously how you compete as an athlete changes over the years. Getting to kind of like regionals and obviously being on podium at regionals, that's obviously such an amazing thing. Do you get, when you're at that point, do you get to celebrate and to take that all in, or is it kind of, again, like blinders forwards, right, okay, cool, this is done, but it's games time now?
No, I always went out and celebrated. We would go out always to Mexican after. That's always what I wanted. And we would just, I'm not even gonna hide this back, but we would take tequila shots and we would drink all night, and me and my coach would have so much fun. And I don't even remember half the night because we would celebrate so hard. So no, we would definitely celebrate that night, and then we would take a week or two, to downtime and relax, and then before hitting it. You have to. It's such a long process. Going from the open, like from February, and then to regionals, which was always, I don't know why I had Memorial Weekend all the time. And then mine was always Memorial Weekend. And then the games is in August. So it's a long season. So you definitely have to take some downtime. Going from the open to regionals, there wasn't a lot of downtime because it was just trying to like peak through regionals, right? And then get even better through the games. But yeah, definitely after regionals, when you have such a big adrenaline and big competition, you definitely need some downtime.
I can imagine. It's just so full on, and there's so much that goes into it that I think so many of us, we sit and we watch regionals or semi-finals or the games, and you are like, oh, they've got, they're working out for 5 days or whatever, but actually all of that time in between that you really focus on. I want to talk a little bit about the 2018 games, because I think even now watching back the coverage, and obviously there was a documentary a few years later, but there's one moment, and I talk about this a lot. I talk about the fact that there are games moments that kind of go down in history. And it was the clean and jerk ladder that you competed in, going through the heats. There was a moment at the end, and you secured 5th place, kind of whatever you did, and you were at this final barbell. And I think, and I'll share it when I share the podcast, kind of so people can watch it back. Can you talk me through that moment a little bit? I'll let you explain it. But to explain, you had secured 5th place in that workout, no matter what you'd done. The other 4 girls had completed their final lift, and you had, 45 seconds-ish left on the clock. What's going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, I want to walk back just a little bit though. So the clean and jerk started out as a lighter weight, and I always was really good at speed ladders. I love doing them. I love doing them in practice. It was just something that was like really fun that I could just like knock out. And so the first heat, when Dave brought us back to move on to, the next heat, he announced the winner, and it was me. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I was the fastest. I was just going out and do my thing. And so that was a cool moment, and everyone like cheered, and everyone, was like really excited for me. And then you move on, do the next heat. But the back-to-back in between warm-ups was, you maybe had done 1 lift or 2 or something, then you were lining up, and then we waited and waited and waited till in the corral, and then we finally went out. When we finally got to that last heat, it wasn't that I couldn't clean it. It was that I couldn't power clean it. And that's the only thing that I had warmed up, because all the others were power clean and jerk because you wanted to move faster. So by the time we got to that heat, I was like, this is going to be a PR. I think it was 235 on the barbell. It was definitely going to be a PR for my power clean. It's not a PR for my squat clean, which my squat clean was, I think, 248. So something reasonable that I could get under. Anyway, so then I was excited, and then I missed it. And then I was like, dang it, I lost 3rd place or whatever. I was just in contention, and I just kind of rushed it. If maybe I just slowed down just a little bit. And this is like another error. Like won all the other heats. It was so fun to get up there. And then just the slight error of like trying to rush to make it to third place instead of just, 2 more seconds of a breath, lock in, hit that power clean, like know that it's going to lock it in the first, then I could have secured more points, and you need more. Every place is, 5-10 points. But then I was like, okay, it's fine. I, again, secured 5th place. Like you said, Tia is obviously a really good friend. She's a great lifter. Everyone knows she's a great lifter. And obviously she was standing on the finish line, and she just looked at me and she was like, no, you have to finish. You can't just give up. And, just having her talk to you and other teammates or not teammates, but competitors talk to you and like cheer you on. It's like, okay, I definitely can do this. And you just kind of want to do it for yourself, not just because you finish the workout, but we do that in the gym anyways. Like, with my membership, with any gym that you go into, you're like, it doesn't matter if you're last, let's try and finish, because you are capable of doing it and your capacity is, and you are there, just get there. It honestly doesn't matter, like, but we're all here having your back. So let's do this together. So the fact that the crowd got on their feet, Tia had everyone, all the competitors were there. And then, so I locked it in and I was like, okay, let's go. And I think I squat cleaned, because I know I don't remember if I squat cleaned or power cleaned at this moment. I would have to watch it. But anyways, I made the lift, and it was just super exciting because one, the crowd and the adrenaline and all the fans have your back, but also the competitors have your back. They're competitors at the same time, but they also want you to do your best too, so that's cool.
I think that's one of the best things about CrossFit is that as much as, and you can kind of tell this from watching, as much as you are all, as you say, competitors on the field, you also all really have each other's backs. Do you think that, say you were there on your own lifting, like, do you still think you would have kept going to that point, as you say, you would have done in the gym, but like having everyone there, did it just give you that extra bit in the tank that you needed?
Probably not, just because I had already tried twice. I was like, okay, time's up, but if I was preparing for this particular workout, I probably would have done it over and over and over until I hit it or figured out like, okay, I need to warm up. Maybe I have to have my squat clean warmed up, so I'm ready to go and do squat clean all the way up to that ladder, and not just power clean and squat clean at the end, right? So my legs are toned. So warm. So it probably would have been a different strategy at that time, but because you didn't know what the workout was until the day of, and you don't have that much time to warm up, and it's just go, go, go. Strategies definitely change.
Yeah, I can imagine. So when you're there, because again, it's something we don't see, as you say, there's a lot of wait time. Is that the same with every event, or do you kind of go straight from warm up into a workout, or do you have that kind of period of time every time?
There's a lot of wait time. And that's how you have to like train, it was different. In the last couple of years, they could have changed that, but because they want all the athletes like ready, no, there's definitely a lot of wait time. I would say at least 15-20 minutes of standing before you go out.
And did you at the time so did you kind of at the time train that way as well, kind of warm up?
Definitely. So some days I wouldn't warm up at all, and I would just go straight to a workout, or I would warm up and then I would go talk to members or take a break and walk around and sit down or whatever, and then come out and hit the WOD, have people set it up for me. Or whatever the situation was. You try to change. You don't train the same every day. Every day is different, because that's what the games is. You don't know what you're getting. It's the unknown. You want to just be ready for anything, and you have to make sure you're taking care of your body at the same time, because going from a cold, sitting or standing, and then going into 100% intensity is super hard on the body. So you have to make sure that you're also taking care of your body.
Yeah, definitely. So looking back, obviously, like that's a real memorable games moment, but do you have any that really stick in your mind, that when you look back at your time kind of like competing at the games, that is probably like a favorite memory for you?
There's moments in like all the games, I feel like, that you are your favorites. There's learning curves and your workouts that you hate and you don't do well at and you don't excel. And you look back and you're like, okay, but I learned so much from that. And that made me a better athlete today and a training partner and you can keep going from those experiences. And there's also times when you're like, all my work from the years past was for this particular event, right? And that event is like a milestone of like, I excelled, but I don't know if the excelling part beats the learning part for me.
So is that what you take away from it? Your every workout is just, what can I learn from this?
Yeah, because you're trying to find your limit, right? And if you excel at all the workouts, then you're like, okay, then I found the limit, I can't go any further. But the ones that you don't excel at and the ones that you can keep getting better at, you're like, I don't have a limit on this. I'm going to just keep working and working and working until finally those get better, right?
Yeah, definitely. Is there any workouts that you remember that you would just literally never do again, that you were like, no,
marathon row, I don't even have to think about it. I'm never even gonna get on a rower ever again in my life, because that was like the most miserable thing. I'm sitting waiting for Dave to announce our first workout. I was sitting next to China and Lauren Fisher. And I said, if we have to do another marathon row, I'm literally going to walk out and quit these games. And I said it, and then he announced it. Sorry, it was a half marathon. Then he announced the full marathon. And I literally sunk in my seat. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they looked at me and they're like, are you going to walk out? I was like, now I really have to think about it. But that was so miserable for me. So like, I just was like, I don't even know if I tried on the workout, because it was just so boring and miserable. And I never want to get on a rower ever again.
I, from all the like interviews or everything I've ever watched about that marathon row, I've never once heard anyone say anything positive about it.
It was awful. It was awful. Your
I
muscles, after you're just not ready to do 4 hours, of one movement, monostructure movement, and your muscles are just seizing, and you weren't prepared for it. Now people are more prepared. They'll sit on a bike for 4 hours. They'll go for a marathon row or run. Like Christy Aramo was always like really good because she did triathlon running. So her body was adapted for that. But I definitely had never been on a structure for 4 hours before.
I cannot imagine what that was like. And just, watching all of like the pain in all your faces. And I still can't believe they made you do it, but it's a good way to kind of start the weekend, I suppose. No,
it was the worst way to start the weekend, but I guess it was over with on the day one.
Yeah, I mean, imagine them saying, "Oh no, this is going to be the last workout of the weekend." It would be a lot. But kind of after 2018, obviously, as you said a couple of minutes ago, 2018 was, you put everything into it. You were looking to kind of stop competing and start a family. Going into 2019, with regards to CrossFit, a lot of things changed anyway. Like regionals went, there were lots of new kind of ways to get to the games. Had you intended on not competing that year already, or was it, I'm going to see where I'm at when the Open comes around, etc.?
Yeah, no, we had started our IVF process that year, so we knew I wasn't competing. And for me, because I was doing IVF, I had to sign the drug release that I wouldn't get drug tested because I was going to be on hormones, and none of those could pass CrossFit anyway. So I had to sign that, and I actually still haven't taken my name off the list. And so that's why I haven't competed in the Open, even though I've done the workouts, is because my name hasn't been up there. It's because I keep having babies, and so I have to sign, and you have to do it 6 months in advance. And so I always forget by the time it comes up.
Yeah, but you still obviously you were owning you still own a box, and you've coached and everything. Do you still get involved with the Open? Is it more fun now that you're not kind of in it competitively, or is it still the same amount of pressure?
Yeah, so it's different because I definitely don't pay as much attention to it. I don't know if it's more fun. It's because, again, like, I'm a competitive athlete. I want to be in it. I want to do it, and I want to compete. So just standing back and watching people is definitely a different side. I love watching semifinals and not having like the pressure of like all the training and stuff, but I definitely was like, oh my gosh, these workouts were so fun. I want to do them. So I can't really answer that for you.
But I suppose it's different, isn't it? Every year and everything's different. Going into your career now, I suppose, obviously you were coaching anyway, but changing your focus, I suppose. So you were coaching CrossFit, and now you kind of obviously still have elements of that, but why did you change your focus? And do you want to kind of talk a little bit about what your focus is now?
Yeah. So now I do prenatal and postnatal pregnancy coaching, and nutrition coaching. It's all online, and I do see a couple clients. I did see a couple clients at my house in Florida. Now we're building a house, so I'm in Utah waiting for our house to build. We live with my mom. Um, But our focus really changed because I had kids, right? The gyms were 45 minutes, 30 minutes, and an hour away. We had 3 CrossFit gyms. And my first son was so difficult to get in a car. He would scream, and the 45 minutes was dreadful. He would get foam in his mouth. He would just cry and cry and cry. And so by the time I got there, I had to soothe him and tend to him. I wasn't focusing on the members. So it just kind of like, what's a priority, right? Is it the gym or is it my son? Well, obviously my son's going to come first. So those days of going every day to the gym and all day dwindled. And I would be the first person to say, like, when I was pregnant, oh, my son will be in the gym with me all day, like every day, we'll just hang out, like we'll be fine. But I quickly learned as a parent, like, that my schedule is not going to fly. Like, I have to follow what he needs. And so then it became one day a week, and then it was like every other week, and then it was like once a month, and it just kind of dwindled, and I wasn't giving enough to the members, which is like so sad to me, because I really loved it. And I put a lot of effort into the gyms, and I was there 24/7. I slept there, did everything. I did all the equipment change. I cleaned the floors. I cleaned the toilets. Like, and all the admin, I did everything in the gym. But then when I had my son, I couldn't do that as much. So the focus just changed. So we sold the gyms and closed the gyms down, and turned into pregnancy. And I've always done nutrition coaching, but really took that more full time and pre and postnatal. And I really love the passion of that, because there's so much unknown, especially while working out and doing CrossFit, of what the knowledge is for that, and what the safety is, and what your body needs to do to prep for having a baby. But not only that, it's to take care of like your core and take care of your pelvic floor to lead you on after for postpartum. So when you're doing box jumps again, and you're doing jump rope, and you're running, you're not having leakage, or and peeing your pants. So a lot back in the day, people would do box jumps and girls would pee, and they were saying, oh, it's normal, it's just doing CrossFit. And it's not normal. We need to learn how to take care of it and do therapy and make sure our abs are connecting again. And so there's so much that goes into it. And then on multiple pregnancies, like, okay, you can lift heavy on their first one, but should you be lifting heavy on your third one? Are you capable of doing it? Yes. But is your pelvic floor, and your core able to handle that through pregnancy? Yeah, but maybe after, like, you might have some like concerns that come up, like prolapse, or there's just so much that goes into it. So just taking that knowledge, and like, I read all the time about this, and I get with other experts, and like, my knowledge is always growing. And so just taking my knowledge and my experience and all that, and trying to be an expert in the field, and being an expert in the field and helping other women really is so cool to me. And there's so much where you can help, and just a lot of women we don't know. And you're not supposed to be an expert as a CrossFit coach, right? And so that's why you get an expert in this. So again, there's just so much knowledge and stuff that I can share. that I want to share, and I want to help other women and go through pregnancies and have good pregnancies and, return to their fitness routine afterwards.
Yeah, and to say it's so important, and it's such a large percentage of people that, again, we probably don't even think about. So you're currently expecting your third, and what's the difference like between how much you knew, I suppose, with your first child and you were kind of learning all these new things? Now, obviously, you're an expert because that's what you do for a living. But do you feel like personally, with your pregnancy and how you're doing, are you kind of like, yeah, I'm an expert, I've got this now? Is it easier now?
Yeah, it's definitely easier. I definitely, yes, everything is easier, but there's always like learning stuff. So like currently in this pregnancy, I'm definitely not lifting as heavy as I want to be because I'm trying to protect my pelvic floor. So, and my core so that I can recover afterwards very well. But there's also stuff that like I go in and I want to learn more. So it's ever evolving, and every pregnancy is so different that you can't compare your first to your second to your third, and all that, or mine to my friends, or mine to my clients, or who's ever, because every pregnancy is different. Everyone has different things at different weeks of it. So that's also the beauty of pregnancy.
Yeah, and I love it because I think you're even looking like on your Instagram, you give so much, and much information to so many different people and everything. Do you kind of love that you can share so much now?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to hold anything back. So I want someone to come to me because they feel that they can trust me and they can get this knowledge, and I'm not just hiding it and holding it back. I want to be able to share it. And if you want more, like I have more to give you. But this is like general information that I can just share with the world. But obviously, like my clients get a whole lot more information.
Yeah.
But I definitely still want you to be open. Like, and if you come to me and you message me on Instagram and you want some advice or you want this, I'm not going to be like, well, you have to pay me first. No, I'm going to like share the information, and then building that trust. Hopefully then you say, okay, this is the coach for me, or I'm not the coach for you, and you need to go find a coach that is for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure many people will be coming to your Instagram now after this and being like, oh, what can I get? I'm gonna do some quick fire questions with you in just a second. But before we get on to that and wrap up, do you see kind of like, what do you see in your future, I suppose, from a CrossFit perspective? Obviously, you're growing your family and so much going on, but do you ever see yourself getting back out onto the competition floor?
I have friends that ask me that every day. It's unknown right now because I have to focus on my family, my children. They get 100% priority.
I love that. And I'm sure you'd be very, very welcomed whenever you did choose to return, if you did. There's always
Yeah.
the rogue legends. I always think that's a great way to get back into it. But before I let you go, we just have some quick fire questions, which I'm sure probably have changed over the years massively for you, the answers to this,
Okay.
as your workouts have changed. But firstly, your favorite lift.
Snatch.
First person that said that. Exciting. What about your favorite overall movement?
Overall movement. Probably maybe bar muscle ups.
I love that. Your preferred shoes that you work out in? I know this probably changes quite a lot regarding what you're doing, but in general.
I have the Reebok Nano X2s on currently.
We'll take them. What about a gym accessory that you can't live without? I think you're looking around like, what can I find?
I don't know. Do clothes count? Shorts and a sports bra?
Yeah, they count. I mean, you can't live without them. What about your favorite benchmark workout?
Oh, none. I've done them so much. I think they're like tedious to like keep doing over and over again.
Yeah, we'll have to we'll get a new benchmark workout and you can do that. And then my final question for you, and I know you've competed with some amazing people, and as you say, you keep up to date with all the semi-finals, etc. But if you could build and be in a dream team for the games, who would be your three competitors alongside you?
There's so many because everyone is so good at different things. I'm not gonna name people on here because I would just probably pick my friends because we can communicate very well instead of picking like the best athletes. So I'd just pick my friends.
That's fair enough. It's all about fun at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
And getting to work out with friends is amazing. But thank you so much for all of the knowledge and the stories. It has been such a pleasure to chat. Really appreciate your time. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. I appreciate you having me on here, and it was a pleasure.